Good morning and welcome to this session. This is the second of the iGuide sessions this morning, and it's my great pleasure to chair the session and welcome Shaowen Wang, who's going to be our speaker for the next few moments. It's often said in a situation like this that the speaker needs no introduction. And that, I'm sure, is absolutely true for almost everybody in the room who is already very well aware of the role that Shaowen Wang has been playing in the GI science community for the past few decades. However, it's my strong belief that some people deserve an introduction, whether they need it or not. And so I intend to introduce Shaowen Wang. I'm Mike Goodchild. I'm the chair of the External Advisory Committee of the iGuide project. I've been similarly involved in a number of projects dating back from CyberGIS and earlier versions, all of them major projects, community building projects, which have really demonstrated Shaowen's amazing abilities. I have great admiration for Shaowen for the work that he's been able to achieve. It's perhaps little known in this group that besides directing iGuide and directing CyberGIS earlier, Shaowen is also a very successful administrator. He's an associate dean at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And in that role, he's also been very successful. So without taking any more of his time, please help me welcome Shaowen Wang as the speaker and the director of the iGuide project, who's going to give us an update on the iGuide project as a whole.
Thanks so much, Mike, for that very kind introduction, and also many thanks for your fine contributions to the iGuide project and to the community building as the chair of the external advisory board of the iGuide. I think the community is truly appreciative of your multi-decades service and leadership getting us this far. And certainly thanking you all for being here this morning. You have many sessions to choose from as part of this larger Congress. So I'm appreciative of your attendance here. Before I get started, as you all understand, this takes a village actually put together the iGuide Forum this year in partnership with the Congress. I want to acknowledge several colleagues working tirelessly behind the curtain to get us ready. A few days ago and yesterday, we had some really engaging workshops and tutorials. I saw some of you were there. So first, we have two program committee chairs, Dr. Anand Padmanabhan and Dr. Diana Sinton. They're sitting in the same role, not by accident. And thank you so much. Give them a round of applause. Also, we have a very fun and interactive poster session this evening. Is Nick Manning in the room? So he's our, all right, okay. He's at the right place, not at the right time. So Nick Manning is our poster chair from Michigan State University, advised by Jack Liu. As many of you know, Jack is a leader of the iGuide project as well. So thanks to Nick, and also thanks to Carol Song, who's back in the room, always working hard from the back of the crowd. So thanks, Carol, for your leadership and the service for iGuide proceedings. So bless you. So third year now, we're producing this convergence research proceedings. And that's largely due to your leadership and service. So thanks, Carol. Is Nathan in the room? Yeah, Nathan Gerald Chan, who's our local arrangement chair. a lot of products. You feel like your eyeballs are just so appreciative of the graphics and also the materials presented to you. That's out of Nathan's hands. And also, this year, we're not printing anything for you. That's by intention, because the Congress has the mission of saving the planet. We're not using papers this year for our proceedings or for any agendas in the past you saw if you attended the iGuide forum before. So my apologies, but at the same time, we're on the same mission and saving papers and saving the planet. Also, I want to acknowledge the contributions of the program committee who worked very hard because this year's schedule is a bit tight. We normally conducted the forums in the fall. So this year, in order to partner with the Congress, we moved this a bit earlier. So that required the program committee worked really hard to review papers and came to consensus to accept a set of papers. I hope you'll enjoy the presentations of these papers throughout the 2 days program. So without further ado, let me get started. This is normally what I do at each of the annual forums. And the title always the State of iGuide. I'm presenting this really on behalf of an amazing team. These are several family photos coming from the previous forums. And this one was the first, actually, at that time, we did not call that gathering as a forum because mostly was the iGuide project folks. The first all hands meeting actually was in Chicago. So it's good to be back here with more broad and engaging community as you are here. If you go to our project website, this is what you see. And the URL at the bottom there should be easy to remember, i-guide.io. And from this website, you see our vision is to drive digital innovation discovery by harnessing the geospatial data revolution, and our missions to advance convergence and geospatial sciences for holistic sustainability resilience solutions. So you see 3 key words there highlighted. These are our key approaches taken by the iGuide Center: map, connect, and discover. And keep 3 words in mind, which I'll use to unfold the rest of my talk. Before doing that, give you a little background information about iGuide, which Mike already mentioned a little bit. So this is funded by the National Science Foundation through their Harnessing the Data Revolution initiative. We started 2021, so this is our 4th year in the middle, and we have about 1.5 years for the current 5-year funding cycle. And really the focus here is the harnessing the geospatial data, why this matters, why this is exciting. Well, geospatial data, like many other sources of big data, includes these popular notions of big data terms, right? Volume, variety, veracity, and so on and so forth. That all applies to geospatial data. But at the same time, if we look critically at such data, it includes these very critical attributes. It's heterogeneous, it's dynamic, it's coming all the time. Obviously, it's massive, right? All of you are data collectors of geospatial data as you move around. You might not even realize. And it's large scale. The entire globe is covered. Of course, many satellites above our heads, at a fine granularity at our individual level, at very small spatial scales. And the access oftentimes poses challenge because there's so many sources and collected by so many people. It has privacy concerns for certain applications, and protecting certain data is sometimes critical. Because all of these key attributes, such data is really complex, but at the same time, very important because many science domains are dependent on such data. So we have 11 institutions involved in iGuide. It's headquartered at UIUC, where I'm located, but the 10 other institutions forming this network as a national center serving the related communities. We also work with a variety of partners, some of which are represented in the room. such as the World Geospatial Industry Council, that is actually a sponsor of our forum this year. Thanks, Eric Anderson, for your leadership and partnership. The overarching motivation for iGuide really is this many grand challenges, both of our society and also in scientific domains. This donut representation, such challenges are requiring convergence approaches, combining analysis, modeling, observation approaches. These are different scientific, actually, paradigms. Those scientists conduct their work normally just go with a few of such paradigms. But all of these paradigms having increasing dependence on geospatial data and associated tools. And that's where iGuide is involved and kicks in. The notion of convergence gets popularized by NSF through this series of reports. And you could read the quote there, but the key idea is it's an umbrella term encompassing multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, and interdisciplinary. The goal, of course, is to achieve cross-cutting scientific discovery and innovation. A good example of convergence happened in the field of geographic information sciences is CyberGIS. I'm personally involved, as Mike mentioned. So in this case, the combination of high-performance computing with big data to knowledge transformation and collaborative problem solving and high-fidelity visualization, visual analytics. These parts are not organically together in the context of GI science, but it came as the data is increased, computational requirements are more demanding. How do you bring these very different sectors together? That actually triggered the development of computational intensity theory, which is a different theoretical construct compared to the computational complexity theory developed in the field of computer science. So from the theoretical conceptual development, as you saw from that diagram, fast forward to today, the geospatial community actually has an open science platform called CyberGIS, broadly available, especially for those folks coming from academic institutions. You could immediately register to access this platform to conduct computationally intensive and reproducible analytics. As summarized, they're supporting open educational resources and with a focus on computational reproducibility. So I actually encourage you to go to that URL to see what you could do there, and feel free to follow up in case you encounter any issues. Now, the convergence in the context of iGuide is even more ambitious. If you look at the center there, that's obviously geospatial data I have been talking about, right? But the challenges we're addressing in the context of this Congress is sustainability, and related to that, resilience. And we need to combine analysis, modeling, observation approaches, as I was alluded to. And this is a converging frame, requires the support of advanced cyber infrastructure. We had a panel yesterday, Carol Song was talking about the role of cyber infrastructure plays to bridge the different domains needs versus the data, the computation required. So that support is critical, but at the same time, drastic innovation is taking place in the context of geospatial AI and data science. And iGuide is working very hard in that realm. That enables our pursuit of a collection of convergent science catalysts, which I'll mention some examples for you to get a sense of where we are. At the same time, we are engaging the community, involving partnerships, because many of these challenges, they're not going to make significant progress on advancing the frontiers without involving folks beyond academic communities. And the workforce education, of course, is also critical in iGuide. At the same time, as a central project, we evaluate what we're doing dynamically and getting feedback to improve what we're doing regularly. So this convergence gets translated into the key approaches I mentioned: map, connect, discover. And of course, in the context of sustainability, we hypothesize nearly all of these challenges, they're interdependent. If you want to solve water challenges, you inevitably need to consider the challenges coming from energy and the food and other dimensions. So our hypothesis here is geospatial is a critical linkage to look at the interdependence among these very dimensions of sustainability. So we have identified 10 knowledge frontiers within iGuide we're pursuing. And you feel free to get to that URL, or you just search Knowledge Frontiers iGuide, you would be able to get to this webpage. What I'll do is to walk you through this knowledge frontiers together with examples and highlights today, organized within those three key approaches: map, connect, and discover. And what I'll do first is focusing on connect. And those four are the knowledge frontiers, primarily situated in the connect approach. So for solving sustainability challenges requires the combination of domain knowledge expertise from a variety of fields. And these fields need to create knowledge network by bringing the expertise together. So three key questions there. What should be the building blocks of convergence knowledge network? How should computer scientists engage knowledge exchange with economists? And how to construct and validate such knowledge network? What would be the adequate level of novel scientific knowledge agreed upon across different domains? And how to discover knowledge by harnessing such network at a scale, not just by a few people getting together, or not even just by a group of people in the room getting together, but by the broad scientific communities across disciplines. So that's what we're facing with regard to the needs of creating the iGuide platform across these different fields that are represented within the iGuide Center. And we need to bring data, communities, knowledge together with educational resources and our partners to understand how such a platform could serve the broad needs of convergence research and education. So now I wish I could do a live demo today, but the control is back in the room, so I don't actually have a computer. So what I'm doing instead is to give you some screenshots. Actually, you could do this. So the URLs at the top is iGuide platforms link, platform.guide.io. So this will be the page if you go to that URL, you see. And those three key approaches, map, connect, and discover, exactly are there, pointing to the resources you might be interested to further explore. So I'll highlight two parts. This is a search bar, traditional keyword search, and this is question and answering capability integrated with large language models. I'll have a focus on this today, but this is pretty handy as well, as you might start with. The access to this requires approval because AI is burning energy and resources, and we want to be careful giving out this capability to everyone who might not be necessarily equipped to best utilize this capability. But if you're interested in this search, which I'll show you a few examples, definitely feel free to follow up. So the types of knowledge elements include, as listed here, datasets, code, maps, computational notebooks, publications, and educational resources. So we consider these knowledge elements to be the common language applied to all of the fields involved in iGuide. This is the language we speak as we engage digital computational approaches to scientific research, any field. Now, if you go to that middle button on the iGuide platform homepage, you'll get to see this knowledge network, which is formed dynamically behind the scene. And I highlighted one there just randomly, which is this computational notebook that does national level analysis using Twitter data. You could do this anywhere in the knowledge network. And the knowledge network is not a complete capture of all the knowledge elements in the platform, only currently focusing on certain connected elements. Otherwise, it's too big. But so far, the knowledge elements have been contributed by a variety of institutions, both within the iGuide and outside of the iGuide. So not a surprise you see UIUC has a major contribution there, but I hope other institutions will catch up. So I asked the iGuide AI a question. How is the social media data used in geospatial analysis? I was intrigued by seeing that knowledge element from the knowledge network you saw earlier. So I posted this question. So the answer you got there is a summary. This is a combination from the large language models and the structured search and synthesized. Well, I should go back. Social media data, particularly from platforms like Twitter, are increasingly used in geospatial analysis to understand and visualize human behaviors, sentiments, and the patterns in response to environmental and social changes. It speaks reasonable language there, right? Doesn't it? So now I'm further intrigued by this answer, and I want to get into the nitty-gritty aspects of these knowledge elements summarized by that answer. So as I mentioned, there's that national level analysis using Twitter data. So let's go there, see what it is. Well, its knowledge element includes a Jupyter notebook, computational notebook, documenting the methodological workflow this analysis involves, but it also connects to other related elements on that page. And if I go do this is multiple screenshots, but it's actually a single page. If I go run this notebook, you get to this Jupyter notebook environment, which you might be familiar with if you are working with Jupyter notebooks all the time. So it's a typical Jupyter notebook environment. You're able to actually run this by yourself. This notebook was created by Dr. Fang Lee at Virginia Tech. So he actually published this work on the International Journal of Geographic Information Science. Now you are able to repeat what he did from that paper, and you are able to access the data described in that paper. And that analysis, if you would be only using your desktop tools, GIS libraries, you would not be able to repeat this because it involves access to sophisticated cyber infrastructure. And from the left is what you see from that notebook. And from the right, this is the key technical infrastructure components of the cyber infrastructure. And what's in between is this set of tools, capabilities, geospatial and otherwise. An example there is CyberGIS compute. So if you see this, and you might be exploring that iGuide AI I was sharing with you. So you might ask the question, what is a CyberGIS compute? What the heck is that? It doesn't sound like a very nice acronym. I go ahead, ask iGuide AI for this question. What is a CyberGIS compute? The text there might be too small. I think I have another screenshot. So CyberGS Compute is a middleware tool designed to democratize access to high-performance computing for solving diverse social environmental problems and simplifies the integration of domain-specific models with HPC resources and provides a user-friendly interface in Jupyter, making it easier for domain experts to leverage HPC without needing extensive technical knowledge. And then gives multiple related resources. So you could see the first part might be coming from LLMs, but the latter part there requires validation from domain knowledge. Now, it has also a collection of related knowledge elements. As we know, there's active research on integrating generative AI with the geospatial methods and capabilities. One of the struggles there is how do you avoid or minimize hallucination? How do you enhance spatial reasoning? So iGuide is tackling these frontiers as I'm speaking. And we argue the verification and the contribution coming from domain experts as knowledge elements are essential for tackling these challenges we are facing in the integration of generative AI with geospatial capabilities. So there are these related knowledge elements that are contributed by domain experts on the iGuide platform. Again, just like I was exploring, you could get into any of this by your choice to see what are the other related elements you might be interested in exploring. So these are all CyberGS Compute related knowledge elements. There are publications, data sets, notebooks, educational resources within your fingertips touch. So in summarize, through a few examples, you see this major strategy of the combination of domain knowledge, which is captured through the knowledge network, and of course the generative AI, that's in this case, large language models. And of course, geospatial, a variety of libraries and capabilities and data sources integrated on the same platform. By doing so, we're aiming to make progress on tackling the complex sustainability challenges coming from multi-scale representations. The example on the right side of your screen is this interdependent social, economic, environmental interactions across multiple geospatial scales. They need many sources of data, many different kinds of models, rich literature to inform our scientific processes. So a big question for us is AI really helpful, getting us further into the progress we need on tackling these kinds of challenges and gain the scientific understanding required for better outcomes and solutions related to these challenges. So now switching gear, I was talking about the Connect, and the iGuide platform was the first example of our Connect approach. The second example is the virtual consulting office. So if you're interested in the iGuide platform or its AI agent, and you want to learn more, where do you get started? Well, first, after my talk, corner me. But that's not very scalable. The next strategy is, in fact, the virtual consulting office. So we're running this nearly weekly, and the topics are chosen by iGuide and our related communities. You could tell us what topics you want to explore. And these are like interactive sessions. You could learn from iGuide, the project folks, as well as learn from each other in the broader related community. So again, if you now search VCOs and iGuide, you're likely getting to this page. We have captured, recorded all the previous sessions, so they're online, as was the upcoming sessions. So for instance, there's an introduction to the iGuide platform. I'm sure my colleagues will do amazing introductions to you for the iGuide platform beyond what I could do. And certainly, for instance, the open source spatial temporal geovisual analytics with CyberGS Visa COVID-19 case study. So that's a very focused area. Might not be applicable to many people, but still, if you are very into that area, that might be a very interesting topic to you. Again, this is an area for more scalable connection approach. We hope to benefit the at-large community related to iGuide, and so far we have engaged thousands of participants and received really valuable feedback in that process. So the third example of the Connect approach is our summer schools. And we have been running the summer schools in the past few years, and this year is our third time. The first one was 2023, and the one closest to me, Mohan Murthy, actually is our leader. I think Mohan is also in the room back there. And this is the happy family photo from that summer school. The idea is for these very exciting research developments, how could you quickly take them to the next generation of scholars, such as graduate students and postdocs? So each year, for the past two summer schools, we were able to bring together around 30 participants paired with researchers and also community leaders connected to iGuide. And in the past two summer schools, these are the last years, we had the different themes. For instance, last year was leveraging AI for environmental sustainability. And this year is focused on spatial AI for extreme events and disaster resilience. So this exercise is getting more and more formalized to have this team science focused on different challenging problems, having 1 week together with a mentor assigned to each team, normally includes 5-6 graduate students, postdocs. And then amazingly, you would see them made incredible progress on solving certain challenging problems. And some of those teams got their publications out already. So this is a really exciting model of connecting cutting-edge research with the preparation for the next generation, as well as testing ideas. iGuide is still developing and to see the response and refine our work accordingly. And one of the ideas getting tested in the summer school is this convergence curriculum. Now you have this many knowledge elements on the iGuide platform with the different types. So how do you conceptualize them? How do you organize them? So the convergence curriculum is actually addressing this question from the what we call foundational knowledge threads to the knowledge connections we need to form, and then the frames of connecting diverse types of knowledge elements, and all the way up to forming convergence knowledge mechanisms and the methods to tackle complex challenges such as sustainability. So now the question is, how do we get these different knowledge elements organized, developed, serving educational purpose, so that a scholar from one domain may not need a degree from another domain in order to be effective in team science or in our pursuit of sustainability solutions. So the summer schools have been a playground for looking at such curriculum and to see how this curriculum could be effective in those contexts and learning how to scale this up. So if you click that barcode, you actually are getting here, and all these knowledge elements currently are on the iGuide platform. You could actually search them out, and oftentimes these knowledge elements are also connected to the related actionable knowledge, meaning you could access data, you could run your computational notebooks dynamically. So now you see the learning boundaries blurred. So you're learning as you're contributing, you're learning as you're doing research, and that's what the world is going. Learning is not just passive, learning is contributing. And learning is incremental, and learning is experiential. So in this case, as I noted, you don't need to get a degree in your secondary field in order to contribute to team science projects. So what do you need in order to be effective? So you could take a 3 hours lab to become equipped in ethical geospatial data science. So what would be that set of topics you really need to quickly get to where you need to be for contributing to your team science? So in this case, there could be, if you're an educator, you need to quickly introduce a concept in your classrooms. You could come to this curriculum to pick up a few modules. That could be 3 minutes as part of your lecture, introducing certain knowledge elements. And you are also supposed to be creators of this convergence curriculum. If there are topics you're passionate about and you want those to be available on the iGuide platform as part of the convergence curriculum, I'd love and we'd love to hear from you. And we want to work with you to have your knowledge elements to be part of this community resource. So switching a major gear, now we're going from connect to map. And I have 3 examples for you in this context. As I noted, map is really the geospatial science aspect of what iGuide is in Denver. So the first one is Spatial AI Challenge, which was launched, in fact, last year's fall in Jackson, Wyoming. So if you go to that Knowledge Frontiers URL link, you actually are able to see this on the page. But the primary aims and the benefits to the community essentially are fourfold. Number one, hands-on experiential experience with cutting-edge technology, and advanced computational reproducibility and open science practice, and contribute to real-world problem solving and skill building, as you would be part of this together with the larger community. And truly, this was a learning opportunities, not only for those who submitted their novel solutions, but also for the iGuide project colleagues. So as it's a challenge, so we had a set of criteria that really reflects our mission and orientation for this challenge. As summarized here, very quickly, you already heard about computational reproducibility, fair data principles in science, impact and applicability to real-world problem solving, innovation and creativity, and responsible spatial AI, and of course, overall technical excellence. So we had now 3 winners announced, as you saw from the program booklet, and we will recognize them tomorrow in our awards ceremony. So do come for that recognition. So let's use one just example, the top winner, the GeoMap clip. And these contributions as part of the Spatial AI Challenge, you can come to the platform as I was navigating to this entry, actually poke them around, see what this workflow is doing, and get their data set and repeat what these winners have accomplished. So it's accessible. They might not be perfect. I'm sure the winners would be appreciative of your feedback, but you could learn from what they have accomplished. Just like that, run this notebook. As long as you register, you will be able to do that. And this would access the powerful computational infrastructure, not within my laptop, not within UIUC, and it's scattered across the country. And this platform has access to all of that. And our mission is to democratize this access, to give that access to every one of you and the broader community. And by the way, that's a really cool project. It's a geo-localized imagery for a variety of applications. And you know that, to be able to locate geospatial features from diverse imagery is actually a very tricky challenge. So see what they have done. And we'll recognize the winners tomorrow, as I said. So the second knowledge frontier here listed is robust geospatial data science. By that, I meant two things I want to highlight. Number one is scalability. So you already got an answer from iGuide AI about what CyberGS compute. So I'll leverage that to share with you a little bit more. So we took advantage of the development of CyberGS compute as a middleware toolkit, and then partner with Open Geospatial Consortium to have a set of potential standards explored focused around high-performance geospatial computing. And they started with their testbed 19 and continued through testbed 20. Now there's an open document for community feedback, and a link to that document is over there. So how do you have a capability created at the same time thinking through the potential standards around this capability for the broader benefits? That's exactly what we're trying to do. That's on the scalability. If you're not scalable, you're not going to be robust because things will be broken as you are trying to look at bigger problems, bigger data sets. So the second key element of robust geospatial data science is on the ethics side. So this work is led by Peter Darch and Kyra Abrams, who actually did a tutorial yesterday. Peter or Abrams, I saw you. Wonderful work there. So now they have a suite of tools. Some of you might already have experience. This is open source and essentially does, for instance, the policy and research conduct checking and document your steps, make them more transparent, and so on and so forth. Broadly speaking, this toolkit allows us to identify risks early on and share responsibility across research teams, which is a normal practice for the iGuide project, and also document decisions for your reproducibility elements of your scientific research workflows, and then meet funder and journal policy requirements in this regard, and to build transparency in general for collaborators and users. So the next steps for this IDET toolkit, iGuide DET toolkit, is to embed that in the iGuide platform, make it more broadly accessible, and also further the strategies to embed this in the broader user communities. So the last knowledge frontier under the umbrella of MAP is Geospatial Knowledge Hypercube. And for those of you who attended the forum before, know this has been a really exciting area of research within iGuide. So a recent piece of work is really to connect iGuide with this retrieval augmented generation to get domain knowledge better integrated into that question answering process I was describing to you. But as you might learn from me and others in iGuide, this hypercube, an idea originated from Professor Jiawei Han, is to take unstructured data such as text data into structured representations so that large language models could better consume such information and to eliminate or avoid hallucinations, as I was alluded to earlier. So we have a recent paper submitted to a conference, and you have an archival copy of that. The link was in the previous slide. And stay tuned for the keynote tomorrow. Jiawei will give. That will help us get into a deep dive into some related techniques and cutting-edge research frontiers. So the final approach after connect and map is discover. So this is the scientific knowledge discovery and production part of what we do. And I have three knowledge frontiers to share with you, starting with the first one, aging dam infrastructure, which has been a really exciting convergent science catalyst within iGuide. And if you go to our project website, you will see the related resources centered on aging dam infrastructure research. Well, since now I have iGuide AI, why not I ask a question to iGuide AI about what is the current state of research on assessing the risks associated with aging dams infrastructure in the United States. Let's see what iGuide AI telling me. And before iGuide AI, I would likely need to get hold of a few people in order to have a few slides to share with you today about what we do. And I jumped over that process this year. I thought I should count on iGuide AI more, not to just count the contributions of my colleagues. But I asked this question and I got a pretty detailed answer. Again, the text is dense there. You could actually do the same thing if you want to experience this process. Like I said, feel free to follow up with me. So some summary and then some concrete examples. So to highlight the part for the synthesis at the beginning, the current state of research assessing the risks associated with aging dam infrastructure in the US, highlighting the need for understanding how changing climate affects the likelihood of high precipitation events leading to dam failures. Researchers emphasize the importance of statistical and machine learning methods to quantify these risks and predict critical areas or populations at risk. Additionally, social and economic impacts, along with governance and response planning, are crucial for effective risk communication and mitigation. For those of you who are involved in the iGuide project, you might recognize these things we have been talking about for a lot, and it's actually captured reasonably well. Now, similar to the other answers given by the iGuide AI, you got related knowledge elements. So this is knowledge generated by the large language models. These are contributed by iGuide project members and the broader community. So you could go to each and every one of these knowledge elements to see the actual progress referenced in that general answer. So one of which was a study done by our iGuide project members, Dr. Manu Law, and his postdoc, Dr. Wang. So this was a study last year published, and essentially analyzes the spatial distribution of aging dams and recent trends in extreme joint precipitation events across the continental US. So now you could go to that knowledge element to see this and see the other connected knowledge elements. So before the iGuide platform, you will need to see this paper, and this paper is a static knowledge. And it's not changing once it's in the literature until the next study. But now we are able to connect these knowledge elements and making them accessible in an active, dynamic way. So the next convergence science catalyst in this case is extreme events and disaster resilience. So I just have one slide because I'm personally related to this study, and some of you might know Becky Wally. She just finished her dissertation, and I'm sorry she's not able to be here because she's making a transition to South Florida to start her tenure track job there. So she was an active contributor to the iGuide project and to the community at large. So I'm very thankful for her contributions and glad she has achieved this milestone that's in the exact topical area of extreme events and disaster resilience. So her work is this CyberGS ABM framework for scalable spatial agent-based modeling of evacuation, emergency evacuation planning. So congratulations to her, and all the best for her future journey. The third convergent science catalyst or knowledge frontier is telecoupling and cross-scale understanding of sustainability. And there's a recent study led by Jack Liu, a leader of our convergent science team, looking to compound effects of drought and COVID-19 on soybean production in Brazil, challenges and policy responses. As we learned in our past work, in fact, these kinds of cascading changes are not just limited to a single country. They're interrelated beyond the local, regional, and the national levels. And the link to that publication online is there, and you could also get to this on the iGuide platform and see the related knowledge elements to this study. And congratulations to Jack, who got elected to the National Academy of Sciences. A round of applause. Unfortunately, he's not able to be here. He's traveling out of the country, but very proud of what he has accomplished. And of course, another leader is Dr. Tom Hurdle. He is with us today. I'm not going to steal his thunder because he has keynote this afternoon. Very timely study, and cannot wait to hear from your insights. Feeding the world grid by grid, spatial trade-offs under crop impact or import tariffs. So I have walked you through 10 knowledge frontiers. Sorry, wow, how did I do that? So within those knowledge frontiers, I use their primary focus, which is matched to our three key approaches. But in fact, all of these knowledge frontiers require the convergence of all three approaches: map, connect, and discover. So I want to just underscore the importance of the convergence, just making these knowledge frontiers come to this far. And of course, in many ways, we're only scratching the surface. But our goal is ambitious. We want to help transform our community practice. Beyond these knowledge frontiers, you might have received our quarterly newsletters before. Certainly, you might have got alerts from our social media channels. We're doing the forum together today and next day as well. And we're also looking outward to partner with the broader community. So for instance, there's a parallel cyber training project Dr. Zhe Jiang from Texas A&M is leading, focused on disaster management area in the context of this convergence research, in the context of enabling better disaster management learning and response, supported by the knowledge frontiers I was talking about. And also there's another collaboration with another NSF project focused on scientific software innovation, led by Dr. Ducklin at University of Notre Dame, has two primary aims there with reproducible notebooks. I shared with you examples today, and also scalable workflows. So how could you take not just toy examples in learning and in research, but take them to closer to what actual solutions need? And of course, we have amazing scientific visualization team, and what they produce, for instance, the South Carolina flood situation caused by dam failures. This is accessible on YouTube. They're now working on a different project. And these visualizations are primarily for public engagement and informal learning. They're reaching millions of people, of course, online YouTube, but also in museums and other venues. So we're really fortunate to have such a component in iGuide because of the importance of connecting what we do with the stakeholders and with the communities. So to wrap up, I hope I have convinced you to do what I have just described on behalf of our iGuide team. We need a new paradigm that would allow us and supports us to do this integration and the synthesis across various knowledge domains, from the cyber infrastructure computing advances to cyber GIS, to geospatial AI data science and to a variety of computation data intensive domains that are needed in the expertise knowledge contributing to scalable solutions to many sustainability resilience challenges our world is facing. So in summary, our theme of this year's forum is geospatial AI and innovation for sustainability solutions. And my email is on the final slide here, and I highlight the three bubbles. I walked you through Map, Connect, and Discover, and I thank you very much for your attention, and happy to take any questions if Mike would allow me to.
We have approximately 10 minutes left in this session. And so I hope we have some opportunity here for discussion and questions. So please think about what you've heard and any questions that you may have or requests for further information. And we have a couple of microphones, so I'll make sure that whoever is asking questions has microphone. Yep.
I need the microphone.
Okay.
So it's interesting to see the AI features in here. And I know for the summer camp, there's already conversations about how to make sure that we have AI resources they want. Things that have moved very quickly. And so I'm just curious, do you have any kind of global observations about the role or the growing role or the specific role of AI in the work as it was originally mapped out? And as you're thinking about it now.
Thanks, Stephen, for that question. The movement of AI is rapid, and luckily, this has been a focus in the project. For instance, through the leadership of Jiawi's research, and initially the Hypercube work now is more connected to generative AI. But you mentioned a very important topic, that's access, right? We're working on the summer schools preparation and how do we get the adequate services, from large language models available to our summer school participants. And obviously they're not free. But our mission is democratize this access, and our mission is to empower cutting edge scientific research. So I'm confident we'll be able to figure out a way to get such access to our summer school participants. I don't think the cost would be prohibitive, but definitely is not minor for a week-long process with 30 plus people essentially probing iGuide AI. I think that's an exciting process, actually. I'm very much looking forward to, but at the same time, there definitely is more technical work we need to conduct and prepare us for that process. Did I answer all the parts of your question? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So more generally now, because this is still very much at the research stage, I will not declare this to be a game changer, broadly available to the world. We're actively researching what this means, and certainly with the value community's feedback, including the participants from the summer school. But the field is very exciting. I think iGuide is situated at the frontier to make contributions.
I have a question.
Sure.
I think your third to last slide, perhaps, was about transforming practice.
Mm-hmm.
And iGuide is now towards the end of its fourth year of a 5-year period. So this strikes me as a particularly appropriate question to ask here at this Congress. Mm-hmm. What do you see as the sustainability of that transformation? What can we do to ensure that the transformations that you've achieved in iGuide, mm-hmm. transformations of practice, are sustained into the future?
That's a great but a hard question. So we have more than a quarter left in year 4 and 1 more year in the 5th to go. And I'll highlight a few examples. And we've been thinking hard about this sustainability aspect of iGuide. I think it's very exciting if you see, for instance, the summer schools and also the virtual consulting office. Those activities are getting community traction. What I would have liked to see more is, for instance, for the convergence curriculum, there will be more active community contributions. My desire here is to have these activities really getting traction from the communities beyond the iGuide project itself and the iGuide project members, because iGuide as a whole, funded by NSF, has now really got us into these knowledge frontiers. And not all of the knowledge frontiers are equal. They're different. And certain knowledge frontiers could be sustained in certain ways, such as the examples I mentioned might not require, for instance, maybe central level funding to sustain these activities. Whereas, for instance, the iGuide platform itself might require additional funding to sustain this infrastructure, which obviously NSF is always debating, exploring different options for such research infrastructure to become more long-term asset for the research community. So our goal for the next year plus for months is to demonstrate such research infrastructure is valuable and impactful and helping the broader community to achieve their scientific goals and objectives. At the same time, also convince NSF this is not the right time to perhaps pull back. That's not an easy task, as many of us know. But I remain optimistic because I think we're really are hitting some exciting targets for potential breakthroughs. And for a center like this, we've been working really hard to get this far. I'm really proud of what the iGuide project team has accomplished, but really to have longer term, more sustainable impacts, I would argue 5 years might not be adequate. So I don't know if it's a perfect answer, but definitely is, I think, an important question.
Could I just say something quickly as a short follow-up to that, Shaowen and Mike? My name's Diana Sinton, and I work with iGuide to help with their evaluation and knowledge transfer. And I was thinking, Mike, some of your questions about making the things that have been achieved like sustainable. I think about one thing I think is the somewhat narrow academic side, but I think about the graduate students who have been affiliated with iGuide that have now gone on or are just now going on to tenure track lines and having it be their regular types of practice to be using the types of platforms, and so that their own students see these workflows as something that one does to go through research. But that's still ultimately a narrow, more academic type of way to measure things. I think a little bit more interesting out of the conversations I've seen here, I've heard a few people from some smaller companies, not Google, not a big company, but I've heard some conversations about heads of smaller companies saying, how do we just get started with some AI? How do we get started with our geospatial data? I heard something. Yeah. There was a gentleman yesterday during one of Shaowen's presentations who said that. And I think that when some of these smaller companies who are just trying to figure out how they start to get their content connected to an LLM through something like AI, I think someone like our colleague Aaron Addison right here, who has connections to lots of industries, can show smaller companies in smaller sectors how one can get started, because they don't have the wherewithal or the capacity or the knowledge. So I don't see like an immediate knowledge transfer of what iGuide has done so far, directly to Google, but I see really important baby steps that are transferable there. So I hope that in our coming year too, iGuide does even better at documenting some of these pathways and workflows so that we can have some meaningful conversations with smaller scale industry connections that could be more meaningful than we've leveraged to date.
Thank you. We, very quickly on that, we do have a panel tomorrow afternoon talking about the partnerships and the innovation ecosystem, and Aaron's on that panel. So I think it might be good to just wait for that part to glean more insights.
And I was thinking as you were speaking, there were several phrases in what you said that did point directly to commercialization in various ways. And I think that would be a very valuable contribution in the final year of this funding to sketch out what is possible and what might work in a commercial sense.
Technology transfer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a question.
Question in the back. Yeah. I think this will have to be the last one.
Sure. And so I want to follow up on the small companies. What about small universities like us? We are Illinois teaching universities or community colleges. And I've been here twice listening to this one and get so excited. But to get started, maybe summer school, it's a way to go, but I don't know the budget. How can we get the budget? How can we get the funding? And how can we get faculty excited and train the trainers, the super users to those stuff? So any directions on that?
Yeah, great question. Well, thank you for joining our session today as well as yesterday's. I saw you appear in our community most recently pretty often. Appreciate your question about how this broader access could be possible. I think to especially the academic ecosystem, we're completely open to engage. Obviously, we have resource limitations, but I think there are opportunities now because of the capabilities are getting more mature. There might not be serious barriers for schools like community colleges or teaching focused institutions to now look at what this could be offered as a resource and come to, for instance, our virtual consulting office, register to our community list and channels. And we would be open to your input and recommendations as to how we could mobilize our resources to work with that set of communities and stakeholders. And I think this strengthening the workforce is an important part of what we do. As Dinah was alluded to, the next generation, the workforce requirements in general in this very rapidly evolving field is quite a big pressure, right? And I think broadly speaking, we're all looking for creative solutions. We are already ready in terms of some key research infrastructure capabilities as well as some use cases. Those could be made available certainly with pretty modest resource to the broader community, including those kinds of institutions you mentioned.
Shaowen, can I add a little bit to that? The questions that you mentioned of the summer school, that is definitely open to all participants, as well as we had other events which we generally do, we have mid-career faculty focused events as well. So that might be some ways to engage with us. And of course, Shaowen mentioned the platform, iGuide platform today. That again is open to the community and can be engaged and with the virtual consulting office and other kind of resources. So we would be glad to connect with you and take this forward. Thank you.
So with that, let's end the session. I hope to see you again later today at the reception, some of the other iGuide sessions tomorrow afternoon. Let's thank Shaowen once again for a masterful presentation and his excellent work in directing iGuide.